Hitting the 10K mark in monthly recurring revenue is an important stepping stone for all SaaS companies. This is the time where you're still assessing your product market fit and figuring out what you need to do in order to get traction. So in this video, we'll be discussing 3 important hacks that will ensure that you hit that 10K mark without fail. Let's dive into it. Hey there, if you're new here, then I'm Mrig, and in this channel we discuss tips, tricks and strategies that can help you grow your SaaS company. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. I release a new video every Wednesday and Sunday to help you grow your SaaS company. Now the first thing you need to do to hit that 10K mark is building a community. If you're starting a SaaS in 2022, then you absolutely cannot skip this step. That is the step of building an online community. And by community, I mean a group of people who know, like and trust you and are passionate about the thing that you're building. Sooner or later, you have to create this community. So it's advisable that you start as early as possible. Start with Twitter, start with Slack communities, start with any place you find where your ideal customers hang out. And if you're still building your MVP, then nothing like it. You're early in the process. You should start right away so that as you build your MVP, you also have a group of people who want access to that as soon as possible. Now, I have a separate video where I talk about building in public, so I'll link to that at the end of the video. You can go watch it later. This community will support you in different places that you launch and will also give you that initial traction that you need. A classic example of this is Will Goto and McGill David from Rise. When they started out, they didn't have anything but a landing page. They didn't even have their product yet. But within 6 months, as they were done with their MVP, they had attracted about 300 people who showed interest in the product. And when they launched on Product Hunt, they ended up being #1 and got more than 565 signups, hit 10K in a couple of months, and are now about to hit 1 million in ARR. So build your community. That's step 1. The second is collaborations. So when you're just starting out, you launch on places like AppSumo, Indie Hackers, Product Hunt, etc. because these platforms have an established audience that are constantly looking for new tech products. And these platforms give you the initial traction that your product needs. Now you can get your initial few customers from these platforms, but to hit a home run on these platforms, you still need an audience outside of it that's going to come and engage on your posts and support you on these platforms. That's why I kept building a community as the first point. But after you've had some initial traction on those platforms with your small community or audience, you have to apply the same principles to get traction again. That is, because you don't have a big or established audience of your own, you leverage other people's platforms to get customers. Now, these other platforms can be things like publishing articles on Mediums rather than starting your own blogs, or making guest appearances on other people's podcasts instead of starting your own. Now, you definitely want to start your own blog or podcast, but all I'm saying is building an audience through these mediums will take some time, and you want to leverage other people's platforms to get that initial traction. The third is launching into marketplaces. So when you're just starting out, you need growth engineering and strategies more than growth hacking and tactics. And if you didn't know, there's a difference between strategy and tactics. Strategy is doing the right things, and tactics is doing things right. That is, strategy is what we need to do and in what order. Tactics is more about once we know what are the things we need to do, how can we get that done in the easiest possible manner. And very often, early stage founders get into tactics trying to find shortcuts to the growth process. And that's not the way it works. You still have to do the grind. The best thing we can do is to help you shorten the process. But there's no magic that will happen in a day or 2 or even a week. Now, the problem with the stage from 0 to 10K MRR is thinking about long-term strategies is also not the thing that you want to do, because you're still working on the product, trying to find out who your target audience is, etc. So thinking about long-term strategies is getting ahead of yourself. So instead, what you do is you make changes inside of the product that unlocks what is called growth loops that help you get to your 10K MRR. And one of the best ways to do this is by launching into marketplaces like Shopify, Wix, Airtable, Salesforce, etc. So how this works is you launch your product or a smaller version of your product onto these bigger established platforms that have invited other developers to build these apps to fill the gaps that their SaaS product or ecosystem could not fulfill. When you launch your product on these platforms, of course, you'll have to do a little bit of research to figure out what are the appropriate ones for you. But once you've done that, you can just do a little bit of tweaking and optimization to rank your apps or products inside of this ecosystem. And when you do that, you're competing against a very small pool of other companies, or if you're lucky, no company at all, for the thing that your product does. Users are also likely going to trust you more because you're leaning against a bigger, more established platform. Plus, your user acquisition cost is going to be 1/5 of the cost that you will pay if you try to please the Google and Facebook ads by trying to compete against every other company that sells a similar product like yours. So hook into these marketplaces and establish your presence there. Sure, the platform might take a cut of the revenue if you're collecting more than a certain amount, or maybe even a cut with every sale that you make. But that's totally worth it, because building your organic channels will take a while. And it's not the thing that you should be focusing till your 10K MRR. In this phase, more than anything else, you're looking for feedback from customers and gathering qualitative and quantitative insights from those interactions, conversations, and product usage analytics. And when you have actually hit your 10K MRR, you have a wealth of information on exactly what message is resonating with the customer. You know exactly the type of audience that has to be targeted, and you know what strategies would probably work. And because these insights are so specific to your customers and products, you'll have 5 to 6 years of solid execution before the competition gets to figure this out. Because probably they were waiting for some report from Gartner that tells them that this is the thing that they should have been doing. And by that time, probably it's too late. Now, if you're interested in understanding exactly how this is done, you can check out my playlist on positioning and how to leverage customer insights here. Once again, consider subscribing and smash that like button if you haven't already. As always, this is Mrig, and I'll see you in this video.